Let's talk about the applications on the valves. Okay. Both of these valves, our 1.5" 2850 valve and our 3/4" 2510 valve, are set up to bring in regenerant. This is what's called a brine system. That's what we refer to it as. And it can be used for regenerations with any kind of chemical that you want to be using. Obviously with softeners we're going to be using brine solution, and that's probably the most common application for it. This brine system is made up of an injector and a brine valve, and then there's a tube that runs between the two units, the brine valve body and the injector body. This brine system is a 1700 brine system, and the way that you can identify it is based on just the size of the injector housing and the size of the brine valve. We use the 1700 injector throat nozzle in this particular housing, and it's made for larger tanks. The delineation is based on whatever the tank size is and how much dosage do we need to do for the injector. Same cap, and on the top of the cap is what's going to indicate what size injector is going to be inside the housing. This one's a number 4. All of our injectors, this is a 1700 nozzle, are color-coded. The number 4 is green. This injector and brine system is what's known as the 1600 brine system. It's, again, has a 1600 housing, a 1600 brine valve. This is the 1650 brine valve, which is plastic. We make brass and plastic for both sides based on the application. One works better than others if you're using different materials that can be detrimental to one or the other. So we have brass and plastic. And this is a number 1 injector, and it's white. The operation is exactly the same. Water comes up through the screen side, goes over the injector, flows through the injector nozzle, creates a vacuum, pulls the vacuum onto the brine valve. When the brine valve is open, we have our brine line connection to the brine valve, and that draws in brine into the system. All of these particular pieces need to be working and functioning properly for any kind of dosing for a softener. And obviously with softeners, the most important thing is regenerating our bed. Regenerating the softener bed needs to happen for us to soften the water, and this is the part of the valve that controls the regeneration and dosing of our softener. Now for a backwash filter valve, backwash filter valves are essentially everything that we've talked about up to this point is the same. The only difference is that on a backwash filter valve, the injector or the brine system is not on the valve, and we have what's called a flat cap arrangement. So we don't change the piston, we don't change the controllers, we don't change the motors. Really all we do is remove the brine system, and we put the cap down on top of where the injector would be. The piston stays the same and it goes through the same steps. We're just utilizing the flow around the piston to do backwash and rinse rather than backwash, brine flow, and then rinse and then fill. So on a flat cap valve, it's very obvious when you look at them. If you don't have a brine system and you just have a cap back here on top of where the injector would be, that would be a backwash filter valve.